Everybody out there, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. And as you noticed, it's a little different today. You ain't just got me, you got the master, Mr. Greenbean here to talk to you guys all about them Jets. What's going on, man? I'm so happy to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I'm psyched to be here, man. This is going to be fun. I always enjoy getting some time with you and talking Jets. It always goes by too fast, but it's nice to be here, Harrison.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I think it's good to have you. I remember last time you were on, we were chatting about stuff for a while. You know, it's the Jets. It's so much fun to get into, and so much has changed since the last time we spoke. A lot has changed.
Yeah, man. I wonder what was going on. I don't remember the specifics. I wonder what's different from the last time we spoke.
It's a lot. Definitely lots been going on. So I definitely want to get into it with you, man. If I can, if you guys can, if you haven't, if you could please subscribe to the channel, you could do so by clicking on the logo in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It'd be much, much appreciated. But again, I'm just super, super happy to have you on, man. And, the biggest thing that I figure, we could talk about is the free agency acquisitions that the Jets have had. And it's just been pretty damn great. Honestly, in my opinion, I'd love to hear what you think. So I'd love to, start with the Jets' new tight end room. I have, my feelings on it. I've been talking nonstop about how I like Ozema, but I love Conklin. I think the Conklin signing is massively underrated. I've been saying the room kind of went from zero to hero, kind of pretty much with just those two guys. But I'd love to hear what you think, man.
Yeah, well, what's funny? I saw something today. Somebody sent me this blurb from The Athletic, which is where Connor Hughes writes, I believe. And so they sent me this blurb that the Jets basically had to deal with getting tier 2 free agents this class. And they named Conklin, they named Whitehead, they named obviously the tight ends, both Conklin and Uzoma. And I just said, you know what? Number one, I don't doubt that the Jets are still having problems attracting free agents here. Nobody knows what Zach Wilson is. We're still, we won 4 games last year and we haven't won anything substantial in a long time. But I have to say, and I mean this from the most objective point of view that I can possibly muster, being the diehard fan that I am. It's hard to be objective, but I do try. Okay. So I think that when I looked at this team and going into the offseason, and we talk about this all the time, as you know, Harrison, we talk and talk and talk. I wanted, if we did nothing else and we got a legitimate right guard, okay, just to fill that damn Greg Van Roten, that hole on our offensive line, if we did that and brought in an actual NFL tight end, not Ryan Griffin, not Daniel Brown, Tyler Kroft. Hey, I liked Tyler Kroft, but he's injured all the time. It's like there's always something with him. So Tyler Kroft, Ryan Griffin, Daniel Brown, dude, they needed to go. We needed an upgrade. So if we would have upgraded that going into the draft and gotten a right tackle, the only other thing I really wanted was a veteran cornerback, because we have such a strong room, but it's a young room. They're going into year 2. So I was really happy to see, dude, they picked my number one. Like, I had my list, as we all do, my top 5 guards. So Laken Tomlinson was my number 1 target. Why? Because there's literally no learning curve. They say things like, oh, he comes from a similar system with players like James Daniels, and that's all great. But Laken Tomlinson doesn't come from a similar system. He comes from the system. 99% of the vernacular is going to be the same. The terminology, everything's the same. As a matter of fact, he's even been coached by these coaches. So he was my number 1 guy. Now, and I even like, Harrison, that they said, no, we're keeping that guy, the vet, at his natural spot, left guard, and we're moving the young buck over. He's not as entrenched in his role yet. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. Then they went out and got Uzoma, who I really liked. Now, I'll be honest and say, in my mind, I was thinking Hurst, right? I was thinking Hurst would be a good one. I think he's about to pop, from the Falcons. So I thought he was a good one. But I could not be happier when we signed Uzoma. I said, ooh, I didn't think that he was going to be out there, because I thought the Bengals are going to try to keep the offense together. Then, Harrison, when we went and turned around, the Bengals were negotiating with Conklin, and we got him too. So what does that tell you? It speaks volumes to me. Number one, finally, our organization is on the same page with guys like myself who've been paying attention to this damn team and can identify what they friggin' need. Like, we know every year we got to watch these blowhards go and build things like just ridiculous signings and ridiculous draft picks for years and years. We're like, why? What are you doing? Finally, they go out and they do exactly what it is that I wanted to see done. And the fact that they got Uzoma and Conklin, who both were negotiating with a team that went to the Super Bowl last year, and have Joe Burrow at quarterback, and Harrison, we didn't do the Jaguars thing. We didn't do the normal Jets thing with, let me pay you $5 million a year more than anybody else, so you have to come here. We paid them reasonable contracts, and they came anyway. So I think this free agent class is the first that really starts to turn that needle, to, turn that dial toward the Jets getting some respect and starting to do things the right way, man. I am so ready to see 12, 22, 21, 13 personnel. I can't wait to see all my tight ends running around on the field, giving Zach Wilson a security blanket for once.
I love it, man. I love it. And you even beat me to it. You got into some of the other guys I wanted to ask you about also, but I want to backtrack for a second into that. The first guy, the first thing you mentioned, and the first thing was, that article you mentioned where you'd said that the Jets had signed second tier free agents, that the first guys, weren't the ones they were going to get. And I have an interesting take on that. I mean, you kind of seem to be agreeing with that. I think, just threw that up just now, I think that could be a false way to look at it. And the way, I could be wrong, but the way I would say is obviously the Jets aren't going to get, the guy like the Devontae Adams, the guy that can pick and choose where he wants to go. The top echelon, ultimate, like top 10, maybe even top 15 guys, they get to pick where they want to go. And they want to go to a team, like you said, that's ready to go, playoff ready. But I feel like instead of 1 and 2, it's really almost like 1 and 1A. Because there's still like you said, Laken Tomlinson was an outstanding signing. Even Baldy, from ESPN, even went as far to say he thinks he was one of the best signings of anybody on any team in free agency this year. Guys like you said, Ozema, guys like Conklin. I mean, yeah, they're not like the top 10, 15 guys, but if you take them out, then they're just as good as pretty much everybody else. So I think, that idea of like you were saying that this narrative again, that, the Jets aren't attracting these guys. And yeah, they're obviously not going to attract the best guys. That's for the Chiefs to do. That's their job. Right. We're hopefully going to get there one day, but I wouldn't look at it as 2. I would say like a 1A. Because you mentioned Laken Tomlinson. I was really going to ask you about him, how much better does he make the offensive line? Amazing signing, just amazing signing. I mean, like you said, bringing a guy that literally came from the system, knows the system, like you said, knows the terminology, but not only that, was at a Pro Bowl level. He took a little while to get it figured out. He struggled a little bit with the Lions. Second he gets to the Niners, it all figures out. In that system, he plays like a Pro Bowler, which kind of brought me to the second point I was going to ask you about with the left guard, right guard. So you're good with it, because I actually kind of felt the same way. I like the decision, and you were saying you feel the same way.
Yeah, well, look, I'll be honest and say that I was surprised by it when I first heard it. I'm not going to pretend that I saw it coming, because I did think that they brought Elijah Vera-Tucker in, and that's his spot. The good news with that was that Laken Tomlinson played right guard 4 years in college. So I didn't think it was too much of an issue, but I do see the wisdom in it. It's like, well, look, this guy has already carved out an NFL career. And AVT's, one of his major assets is his versatility. He could even kick out to tackle if you need him to, and play at a high level out there. So it made sense to me. Like I said, I didn't foresee that was coming, but as soon as I heard it, I said, "Ooh, that's interesting." And then it was like, well, that makes a ton of sense to me. It's like, it just makes sense. And like, how much better, guys. I mean, look at how our offense last year. Let's just look at the first half of the season. The first 8 games, Zach Wilson, or 6 or whatever it was before he got injured, he was running for his life on 8 of every 10 plays, let's say. He was in full sprint behind the line of scrimmage. He was the most sacked. He was the most hurried. He was the most pressured. He had the least amount of time between snap and initial pressure. It was like 1.7 seconds, whatever the hell it was. Then on top of that, he had a lot of drops and all this other shit because, it just it creates an energy around the team. Everything's panic. Everything is really moving faster because it's like it's all crazy and everything because of that. And when you look at the main culprit, after the line settled down, because this is a complex system, which obviously that's one of the benefits of Lakin not having to go through that here. But when you look at the main culprit, it was Greg Van Roten. And even LTD, even though he was a major upgrade over Greg Van Roten, he still had to kind of get his legs under him. He was not a perfect guard. On any other team, it would have looked like a mess. But for us, it was such a great upgrade because Greg Van Roten was so incredibly bad. And once the center doesn't feel like the guy on the right is, he's got to take, his eyes and look over there too. It breaks everything down. Everybody has to be able to hold their own. So Lakin Tomlinson coming in here, then adding 2 tight ends that not only can catch, I mean, we're talking about over 100 catches between these guys last year, whole mess of touchdowns. Both of them can actually block. Like Ryan Griffin, how many times did we see him getting? I mean, he was on his back on lots of plays. I mean, look, as much as a 3 or something, Ryan Griffin, he's fine. He can play. But depending on a guy like that as your one, no way, dude. And we just upgraded this situation so much from where it was because the blocking, the protection is now intact. And when it breaks down, both of these guys know how to peel off. They know how to get open. They know how to be there for their quarterback. And then they know how to catch it. And still, they don't like to go down when they have the ball. And that's one of my favorite aspects of tight ends. I don't want my tight end to be 260 pounds and then goes down when a nickelback hits him in the ankle. I hate those tight ends. I like guys to say, get off me. You're 150 pounds. I'm 260 pounds. There's no way I'm going down for you.
Then you're going to like Conklin.
That's right. Conklin's exactly like he's a freaking Viking.
Like that, yeah.
He's a Viking. I love him, dude. I think he's just like you said earlier, as much as I like Uzomah, the Conklin one surprised me. I thought we were done with tight end in free agency, and I was happy. The fact that they brought Conklin in, it just speaks volumes towards what they want to do. But I actually think that's the one that has me more excited, is the Conklin side.
It definitely should, man. Yeah. So quick, with the offensive line, I couldn't agree more. Like, I honestly be fine either way, but the logic made sense. Like, Lakin is a Pro Bowler at left guard. Why move him? AVT was versatile in college. Makes a lot of sense. But man, that tight end room, like you said, like I liked when we signed Uzomah. I was a fan. Then we signed Conklin. And I was like, wait a minute. I remember seeing this dude with the Vikings. Man, because he was signed like so quick after Uzomah, he just didn't get the recognition he deserves. Like Conklin's a 26-year-old dude that only really started last year. That was his first chance to really start. What does the dude do? He puts up 61 receptions. We haven't had a tight end do that since 2011. Dustin Keller was the last
I saw your post
like that.
I saw your tweet about that.
Ranked tight end. I mean, this dude does not get enough credit. Put up good yardage. He's good after the catch. He's like you said, he's tough. He fights for touchdowns. He's a good blocker. He's really like a check every box, do it all tight end. That again, like last year was really his first year starting. You could almost argue that was kind of in a way like his rookie season. I mean, with that being his first year going, I mean, sky's the limit. Like again, I like Uzomah, but I'm really like I think Conklin can solidify himself as tight end one and really be a legitimate weapon for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, well, what does that tell you? Like with what you're saying with Conklin, what does that tell you? It's that sometimes it takes guys a few years, and the same thing applies with Lakin Tomlinson. You brought that up earlier. Sometimes it takes a couple of years for guys to get their NFL legs under them. It's not everybody comes out of school, lands in the NFL, and is a dynamic impact Pro Bowler type. It doesn't always happen that way, but it doesn't mean that their careers are done, right? So when you look at guys on our roster, like when you bring in two guys who's both Uzomah and Conklin, they're not rookies. Like you said, it looked with his first year start, and you could look at it that way, but he has that development getting up to that point. He had, he didn't just come in and land and everything was going swimmingly. He worked his way up there. And that's exactly what we want to see our team doing with guys like a Kenny Yeboah, like some of the offensive linemen, like a Denzel Mims, like some of these defensive backs. Like, you want to see the Isaiah Dunns and the Brandon Eccles and all that. Jason Pinnock. You want to see these guys here for a while. They look like they can hang, their rookie year, but keep developing them. And who knows what they will be year 3, year 4, when they're ready to pop into their prime and come out and dominate. And they've been in the same system for a few years. I think we're getting Conklin at the exact right time. He's already developed. He's had his breakout year. Come on over here. He's not old. That's what we usually do, and lots of fans want to see us do that shit. And I think that article was even leaning towards that. They want to see us go out there and spend too much money on guys that are going to offer too little impact. That's what they want. Done with that shit, man. Go get 25, 26-year-old guys, bring them in here. Obviously, Tomlinson's a little bit older, but most of our guys are 25, 26, 24. Bring them in here, and let's have a young team that has that, those few years in the NFL, and develop our even younger guys and go out there and outwork and beat the living shit out of teams. And that's what we're going to start to see, man. I love 12 personnel, the whole idea. Harrison, I'm telling you, I've been getting my head chewed off by everybody, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't even be surprised if they drafted a tight end in this draft and kept Yeboah and started running 3 tight end sets out there sometimes, man. I mean, dude, could you imagine who's going to cover these guys? Like, really, lots of teams are built for, they have their couple big cornerbacks, but they have lots of little shifty guys. They have their dimes. They're all dime defenses now because we're playing that spread. If you run a bunch of tight ends out there, nobody's going to be able to cover them all. And you can run over these guys. Oh, man, I'm excited for what this team is looking like.
You should be, man. You should be excited. And you mentioned it with all the weapons. Like, that's the name of the game right now. Like, that's what football is all about. We've watched, I talked about that a couple of episodes back on one of my episodes. We watched the game evolve. I mean, we watched when we were younger. It was all about the running back, the ground and pound. Offensive linemen weren't like they were now. The whole game has evolved. It's a passing game. We've seen that for years, but this last Super Bowl confirmed it. We had 2 of the best receiving cores in the league with 2 excellent quarterbacks leading them. I mean, both receiving cores, like, you could just go through the guys. They were stacked. The Rams might have had the most stacked one, period. Like, you need weapons for your quarterback. So more tight ends, same thing like people saying I think we're pretty good at receiver with Moore and Davis, but we could always use another guy. You need more guys. That's why people want to take a wide receiver high. I'm down for it. Get as many weapons as possible. Surround Zach with as many guys that can help make him succeed. And you mentioned, building through the draft. That's what it's all about. That's what we do. I mean, we've talked about it for years now with the Jets since Joe Douglas has gotten here. Things have changed, right? We were so used to those big free agent splash, like you said, that big money name that comes in and doesn't do anything because you're not building through the draft. We're building the right way. We build this team through the draft. So, you bring in. You supplement through free agency, which is exactly what Joe did. He made the tight end room look really good, fixed the cornerback room a lot, brought in a safety, brought in a lineman, really poises us, for the draft, which is where we're going to be building.
Hell yeah. And that's the whole thing. It's like, it's well-placed free agents. It's just like our draft last year. Like, look, as we've talked about before, they went a different direction than a lot of us thought they were going to go, especially a lot of names that from where we thought they were going to go. Guys, like, I never saw Jason Pinnock's name coming from the New York Jets. Never. I never saw Jamien Sherwood coming. But when you look at why they did those things, like they decided to draft 3 cornerbacks and they decided to draft 2 safeties that they're making into linebackers. Why? Well, because at the time we had one cornerback under contract that was Blesson Austin. And they weren't even really in love with him. They said, you know what? We're going to go into this season. We're going to see what we have with all these rookies. Like, we wanted them to go this position. We wanted them to get another center or whatever, but we needed cornerback. So when you look at the way that they're going through free agency, they bring in a safety. Now, you could have went free safety. You could have went strong safety. They went for Jordan Whitehead. He's more than likely going to play strong safety. And that leaves us with, we have LaMarcus Joyner, and that's nice. That's a safe, just kind of a little bit of a security blanket. But I still think they're going to bring a free safety in here and kind of upgrade that. But you look at DJ Reed, like I mentioned before, we have a young defensive back room. Like, we have, especially cornerbacks. We have all guys, they've only played 1 and 2 years in the NFL. So you bring a guy in, he's still young. He's 25 years old, but he's a vet in the league. That's where you want to grab a free agent and actually change the dynamic. That's why I'm not all psyched about bringing in another rookie cornerback. Like, to me, look, if we decide to go Sauce Gardner or whatever, okay, if he's the best player on your board, it is what it is. I'm not going to hate the pick. At the same time, I think, why keep that cycle going? We just took a whole year to get these cornerbacks, these young cornerbacks, to learn the system, to take their lumps. They all did it together. Now you bring in a veteran cornerback with them as they're kind of maturing, and you move on to a different position and let these guys kind of develop into a unit, unless you don't like them and think they suck, which I don't think is the case. So anyway, I think that, like, Jordan Whitehead, DJ Reed, a perfect placement of free agents. And then obviously the right guard, or it's now left guard, but the guard position and the tight end positions. I couldn't agree with how they've done it more than I do this year, which is a refreshing change, man.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So going back, to that, excuse me, the DB room that you mentioned, Whitehead, obviously great acquisition, obviously, a Super Bowl winning safety that's young, hard hitting, violent player, understands coverage, just really excellent safety. Best safety on the team right now, hands down. But I feel like also, like with Uzomah and Conklin, it kind of overshined the DJ Reed signing. Like, DJ Reed was like the only good player in Seattle's secondary last year. Like, a secondary that includes Jamal Adams. DJ Reed was the only good player in that secondary. Like, this dude doesn't get enough credit. I loved him, man. Right when we brought him in, I don't know if you caught like his first interview. Like, the first thing they asked him is, what do you think of yourself? He's like, I'm a CB1. He's like, everyone tells me I'm too short. That's not true. I can cover anybody. He starts mentioning guys like, I'm as good as AJ Tyrell. I'm as good as Jalen Ramsey. And he's not, like, when you look at the stats, he's like, well, he's not wrong. So, like, I feel like he does not get enough credit. Like, man, you mentioned it with the CB room. I think you and me have been on the same page. I thought our CB room was slept on before he got here. Bryce Hall stepping up to like a top corner in the league in literally his second year playing as a starter. Brandon Echols in his first year, 9 PDs, 2 interceptions, 1 at Tom Brady, looking excellent in his rookie year. Same thing with Michael Carter II. Now you brought in DJ Reed. I'm with you, man. Everyone's saying, obviously I get it. Like, Sauce is like the next Antonio Cromartie. I get it. But I don't think he's a need. I don't think CB's a need, man. I think that room right now is a really legit room.
Right. And if you're going to, like, the way I see it is, and you just said it, like, it's not a need. Now, look, you don't want to reach for need. You don't want to only go for need if the talent is far exceeding where your needs are. And we know that. At the same time, man, like, give this young group the opportunity to run it back. They just had their first off season with the Jets staff, with our nutritionists, our new medical, our new training staff. Let them have that off season, come back in. They don't have to learn the system anymore. Now they can start throwing in all the wrinkles and all the cool stuff that they want to have these guys do. They started developing a chemistry. That one Brandon Echols interception, he said that was a Michael Carter II call. He identified something in the defense. He called it out. I responded to it. I trusted him, and I got the pick. So, like, this is what's starting to happen with these guys. Rather than, bring in an $11 million cornerback and then now use your first round pick on a cornerback. And now it's like, okay, now we have 2 new starters. And what does that do to the room? It just shakes up a place that we don't really need to shake up, in my opinion. And look, if it turns out that Bryce Hall's not the guy, or Brandon Echols or Michael Carter's not the guy, or DJ Reed's not the guy, whatever it is, if they have a really, really terrible season, then next year you can address the cornerback after we've addressed edge and linebacker and whatever free safety in this draft. Give these cornerbacks some support, and let's see how they do second year in this system. Because, hey, guess what? We might have them. We might have our guys already. Let them continue to develop. Jets fans are real quick to give up on players. Like, we like to, he's a fucking rookie. It's like, we say that Joe Douglas should keep his players. He never rewards his own players. We got Bryce Hall in the 5th round. He played great his rookie season after the injury. He played all 17 games last year. He had 10 passes defense to whatever it was. And the fans want to bump him. Trade him.
It's
Trade
crazy to
Bryce
me. I
Hall.
mean, Bryce Hall, you look at his numbers, they're actually ridiculous. It's 16 passes defensed. Like, it's
See?
insanity. Like, I could bring up the numbers. I've gone through them before. He is a legit, the biggest issue people have, he's not an interception guy, but he's a
1 year.
legit, but he's as legit a lockdown corner as anybody. Like, he showed that. Like, you look at the numbers, what he did, they rivaled a lot of people, and that was his first year really starting. Like, I could bring him up, but again, just literally like up there with DJ Reed. These two guys are lockdown corners. I mean, Bryce Hall, like you said, it's his second year. You know, it was only his second year starting, first year actually really starting. He can develop as an interception guy, but even if he's only one of the best lockdown corners in the league, like, everyone's like, that's a bad thing. Like, I'm like, this is a great thing. Like,
that's right. And look, that's such a great point. Okay, if he doesn't get the turnovers, obviously we'd like to see turnovers, but all he does throughout his whole career is he shuts down a wide receiver or a side of the field or whatever it is that his job is. If he just does that, don't forget, he all but locked down Jamar Chase last year too, man. I mean, like, his assignments weren't exactly easy all year. He had some very difficult assignments. And again, it's not only his first year starting, it's his first year in a system, new coaches. That was his third system in 3 years, as it is with, with many of our guys. Let's just let these guys run it back. They showed enough to believe in them. Bring in the edge rushers, bring in another linebacker, bring in a free safety to go with DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead and these guys. And let's see what we got here. Because again, it might turn out that we already have our defense. We might not need to keep shuffling. It's the same thing with tackles. It's like we want to use our first round picks and get a left tackle and a cornerback. I'm like, those are the two places that we just invested all our capital in the last couple of years. Like, we used 4 draft picks on cornerbacks in 2 years. Like, when does this, can we move on to another position? Maybe.
No, I'm with you, man. And again, Brandon Echols really stepped up last year, like, doesn't get enough credit. Like, even before we brought in DJ Reed, I was loving Hall as CB1 and Echols as CB2 and Michael Carter the second in the slot. Like, I was like, that room looks good already. And DJ Reed, like we were saying, just underappreciated on that Seattle secondary. Like, if he were 2-3 inches taller, people would be like, he's the best corner in the league.
Right.
Because he's 5'9". They're like, and that's been his biggest stigma, but he covers everybody. Like, he plays with anyone, man. But yeah, man, Hall's numbers are just, they're ridiculous. They're just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. But, I like him. On top of that, he's a good character guy. Like, everything about him. He was on record last year saying this similar thing that Mosley said, which is, hey man, if you want to go where everything's already set, then go do that. But if you want to come and build something great, this is the perfect place to do it because we got the people. We're going to do it here. So I love Bryce Hall. I'm like literally in Charlottesville right now. UVA is UVA is 15 minutes from where I sit right now. And I love UVA. So it's like, hopefully my wife just got hired at UVA. So I'm going to be hanging out over there all the time, trying to see if I can't get into football practices and shit. But I hope my son goes there. But anyway, I liked Bryce Hall coming out. So, and just seeing him, seeing him do everything that you want to see him do, as he develops, I don't know why we'd want to move on from him. I really don't.
No, I'm 100% with you, man. You remember, just quick on him. Like, I was the same way. You and me, we talked about it. I loved him out of college. I'm a big ACC guy, so I'm always watching ACC football. I was like, this kid's awesome. Like, when he played, he looked like a first round pick. Like, at worst, a second round pick when he was playing. But because of injury, everyone was shaky on him. Like you said, played his rookie season, was solid. But so many people, like you said, just crap on this kid. You got to look at it this way. It was his second year playing last year, his first ever full season. In his second year playing, he had just 11 PDs in single coverage alone. That was second in the entire NFL. He had 6 forced incompletions on red zone passes. That was first among every cornerback. Every corner in the NFL, he was first in that category. And then we mentioned his 16 PDs. That was the most of any Jets player since 2013. First among all second-year cornerbacks in the NFL and tied for 6th in the entire NFL. Like, I just don't get how people see these numbers, see what he's done in his second year as like a 24-year-old kid and go, he's not the answer. It's just mind-boggling to me. Like, we're looking again, second in the entire NFL, first among all cornerbacks, 6th in the entire NFL, first among all second-year corners. Like, what else can he do?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, you want picks. Well, okay, let's get him comfortable in the system where he's not thinking and all that, because you know that they're still doing that. They're thinking out there. They're trying to absorb the system and everything. Now let's let them run it back and see how these guys do with the system, the understanding as a foundation now. Now they can build on that, and maybe there'll be more, interceptions and all that stuff. But like you said before, even if the interceptions never come, if all he does is stop wide receivers from catching the ball, that's going to be good enough. That's perfect.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So I'd love to hear what you think draft needs. Why? Because again, like Joe talked about, building through the draft, but supplementing in free agency. He did a damn good supplementation. Like so many of us are like, well, tight end's a need, tight end's a need. Well, is tight end really a need anymore? I mean, we talk about how much Conklin can break out, how good Uzuma is. I wanted an offensive lineman high. We talked about, again, just adding Laken Tomlinson changed the dynamic of that whole offensive line with one player. Like now McGovern's the weakest link, and the whole damn thing looks pretty good. So my whole outlook has changed. I don't know about you, but my brain is just screaming edge, like edge rusher. Yeah. And I come at that because I love Carl Lawson. Like I love the kid, and I hope he comes back, and he should come back 100%. But we don't know. As of right now, he's still a question mark. And we saw last year, I mean, we were running at edge with guys like Ronnie Blair and Shaq Lawson. Like exciting. It was awful. It was awful.
Isn't that exciting? Man. Come on. You didn't get excited for Ronald Blair and Shaq.
So I feel like I'm crazy enough. Like I haven't convinced my guys on here. I wonder what you think. I'm crazy enough to go edge at like 4 and 10. Like if Aiden Hutchinson or Kavian Thibault is there at 4, and then a guy like Jermaine Johnson's there at 10, like, you're getting at the quarterback every which way in Sunday. And that's what this team's all about. You get to the quarterback, the corners don't have to cover as hard, the linebacker pressure's off. This whole defense gets infinitely better. So like I have other feelings, but I feel like edge is like the biggest thing that we need to do.
Yeah, well, look, let me say this. I think if they do that, go edge in the first, I am going to be surprised. But I'm going to applaud it, okay? Just like you said, isn't it a funny thing? Like we just kind of poked at the thought processes that a lot of fans have around Bryce Hall. An equally confusing thought process is we want to move on from Mekhi Becton because of what? Because of injury concerns. He's had one injury that took him out for a season, and we're all nuts, right? Carl Lawson, on the other hand, has had now 3 season-ending injuries in the NFL. 3, okay? We're all depending on him to the point where we'd rather take a cornerback and a tackle in the first and ignore the position because Carl Lawson is there. Why aren't we equally concerned about him? Just like you said, dude, I like Carl Lawson. When we were talking about last year, there were rumors coming out the Jets are going to sign Hendrickson for edge. Remember that? That's a nice pick. But I was hoping they were going to sign Carl Lawson. This is exactly, it's funny because Matt and Ryan and I were live and we were talking about it. And Matt and I said the same thing. I wish we would sign Carl Lawson. I'd be very happy with Hendrickson, but I wanted Carl Lawson. I thought he was a more exciting player and all that. Now, obviously, we signed Carl Lawson. We were very happy. And he got injured and didn't play. And Hendrickson had this just amazing year. So, it is what it is. But I believe in Carl Lawson. I think that he's got the mental makeup to come back from this and all that, but we don't know how his body is going to hold up. And he's a year older with an Achilles injury now behind him. So depending on him for, the sole, offering of the edge rush, I think would be a major, major mistake. This defense is predicated on edge. Go get your edge. Every year for 22 years, we have found a reason to justify not taking an edge rusher, whether it was a defensive tackle, whether it was a cornerback, whether it was, whatever positions that we wanted to get, safeties, whatever position that we've justified, and we have ignored edge. We brought in Quentin Coples one year, but that's a whole different thing. I can go on for an hour about Coples.
We had Sheldon Richardson as a standing edge rusher at one point.
I'm telling you, yeah, we're all mixed up, Harrison. But it's like, so we've ignored this position while fortifying the interior for years. We did that too much, in my opinion. But here we are. It's a strong edge class at the top. and we happen to have 2 top 10 picks. If we bypass edge in this damn draft, this particular draft, after 22 years of ignoring it, having a defensive coach that needs it, and that being the strength of the top portion of the draft, if we can't put all those pieces together and come out of there with edge, we have big fucking problems, man. But going on to what you said, and I've danced with this one, Harrison. You got a lot of balls for even saying it so convictedly. I get nervous even thinking about it. But like, what if we did? What if Aiden Hutchinson slides? Because the rumors now are the Jackson. Listen, man, the Jaguars are going to take an offensive lineman, or if they go edge, they're in love with Trayvon Walker, right? These are the rumors. So let's just say one of those two things happen. Detroit, in my opinion, is going to take Malik Willis. That's what I see. Now, I could be wrong. Lots of people think I am, but I think they know that the Panthers are there. They know that Atlanta's there. If they want Malik Willis, you're not getting him later. He's not making it to 32. Pittsburgh loves him. There's going to be all kinds of trading up behind them. If they want him, they got to take him. So let's say that happens. So we got Evan Neal and Malik Willis. Now the rumor is that they believe in Davis Mills down there at the Texans facility. So what if they go ahead and bring in Icky or something like that? Now we're looking at choice of our edge rusher. So let's say we get Aiden Hutchinson or Thibodeau, whoever it is. And then at 10, just like you said, we decide to grab Jermaine Johnson or George Karlaftis. Would I recommend that? Maybe not. But would I cheer it? Holy shit. I would be like, finally, commitment to killing quarterbacks. Just like Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh both said it this year. If you want to take a $30 million wide receiver off the field, kill his quarterback.
Yep.
Fucking finally, we're hearing this stuff.
I love it, man. I tweeted it right out when he said it. I loved it.
Dude, is there anything that our Jets GM has said that's better than that? The only thing I think even compares is when they asked him if he's rooting against Sam Darnold when he traded him. Because if Sam does well, then it could be a negative him. He goes, I could give two shits about that stuff. And I love that. I love that Joe Douglas said that. But dude, the way to stop a $30 million wide receiver is to kill the quarterback. And I just, for a football player like myself, that's how we talk in the locker room, on the line, in the defensive huddle. You got all these skill, kill him and everything goes away. You don't have to worry about shit. You cover that guy for 2 seconds, I'm going to kill this guy. And that's how they talk. It's finally here. And if we did that, or even if we went like, let's say Aiden Hutchinson and Thibodeau, and then you wait till 35 and you get a Boye Mafe or a Cameron Thomas or one of these guys, if they like them, I would love if we got 2 of the first 4 picks and went edge. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But I do think that they're going to go edge at 4. That's the most important pick. It's the most important position, and it's where the strength of it is. So at least get that. But man, you got some balls. I would love that, Harrison. Fucking kill somebody. There you go.
I'm with you. Now I'm with you. And I brought the quote up right when he said it on March 29th. I put it right out. It was, if you want to take a $30 million wide receiver off the field, you hit the quarterback. Hit him early, hit him often. I was like, oh, I love it. It was just like right when they asked him, same thing. They were asking him like, oh, you want to go offensive line. Saleh wants to go edge and defensive line. Who wins in that fight? I love it. Joe's answer was we both win. I was like, oh my God, I love this man. Like, as he gets it, it's about the trenches on both sides of the ball. So yeah, he got his Laken Tomlinson. He made that offensive line better. Man, he has to address the defensive line. He did it a little bit with Solomon Thomas, who interestingly is a little bit of an under the radar signing as well, because he really started coming on as an interior defensive lineman, which is what he always was. Like when he played at the Cardinal, that's where he succeeded. And that's what got him draft 3rd overall. My thing, I talked about this when we signed him. I bet Saleh went into Joe's office and said, okay, I admit it. I screwed up. I tried to use Solomon Thomas the wrong way. I messed it up. Let me make this right. Like, this kid is young. He's talented. Like, putting him next to Quinnen on the inside of that line, oh, man. Like, he always thrived. Last year, had his best season with the Raiders, pretty much playing exclusively on the interior of that defensive line. Still young. Man, I'm not saying he's going to be great, but with Quinnen eating double teams, man, the 2 of them, you bring in some edge rushers, That's a pretty sexy defensive line right there that might be
Yes, it
getting
is.
after some quarterbacks. And then you got guys in reserve, guys like Bryce Huff, hopefully when he's healthy, guys like Rankins when he's healthy, and you got a lot of those movable pieces.
Jacob Martin. We brought Jacob Martin in from the Titans, and it's funny because, like, look, I'm not going to pretend to follow every single career of every single player around the league, third stringers, seconds. You know, we learn about some of these guys when they come on board. But one thing I remember about Jacob Martin last year, he's the guy who rolled right through George Fant on the way to killing Zach Wilson. I remembered that. I said, who the hell's Jacob Martin? You know what I mean? I remember that game. I remembered him beating Fant. So, and actually he beat Fant and then ran over Ty Johnson to sack Zach Wilson. Ty Johnson, you know, that's a whole different story. We don't have to ruin our night talking about fucking Ty Johnson. But, you know, it's like that too. It's very similar to the Solomon Thomas move. They're not the moves that are supposed to fix the position, but they are moves that put a support structure underneath what you're doing to fix the system. And together, you know, like having guys that can come in for 15 plays and give you balls to the wall energy. Like if we pitch count Solomon Thomas and Jacob Martin and Bryce Huff and Sheldon Rankins and Shepard, if we can do that just to the degree to keep Quinnen and the rest of the guys not healthy, but rested, like, you know, well rested. I'm just going to stick with that. That can bode well. And you know, Salah wants to see this pitch count, this rotation thing, dude. And I'll say it. I said it a million times. That's exactly how the Giants beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. And it's exactly how the Eagles won their Super Bowl. And granted, there was offense, of course, but both the Eagles and the Giants figured it out. There's just intense D-line rotation that no matter who comes in, if it's their role, they're a first down guy, they come in every first down and they destroy for that one play. And as you rotate, no matter who you bring in, they're fresh, they're hungry. It's the same attitude. There's no drop off. And that's the way you keep an offensive line struggling all day and you keep a quarterback off his balance. And that's what we're trying to do. So I love Solomon Thomas as a signing. I love Jacob Martin. Now, if that's all they did, I'd be disappointed. But going into the draft, I think it's perfect.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So you brought up the edge rushers, and, you know, I'm saying it's a major need. Like I said, I'm ready to go too. With the edge board looking like, I love how you said Aiden Hutchinson fallen. Because, man, I had him as my number one edge rusher, like, for a long time. Like, back when people were still talking about Kavion, I was like, it's got to be Aiden. Like, I don't get why people aren't saying this. Then they have Aiden at first overall, second overall. Man, if he falls to 4, that's the dream right there. Like, when I look at this kid, to me, he reminds me, and I do want to stress, incredibly raw, because he only has, you know, one quality season under his belt. But he reminds me of, like, a very, very raw Nick Bosa type, like a TJ Watt type, like that violent edge rusher that's also got a motor behind him. Like, I really like him, but I'm a big fan of Kavion too. But man, my third guy for a while, and everyone's sleeping on him, Jermaine Johnson. Like, Hutchinson is like a power beast guy. Kavion is like a athletic finesse guy. Johnson's both. Johnson's got everything. Like, he's the check every box package. He pushes guys back into the quarterback, but he's also got wicked spin moves, cut moves. He's very athletic. Like, this kid, I've been saying for a while, I didn't get why people had him so low. Now I see him in like the top 10. And guys like Karlaftis, I was never that high on him, honestly. Like, I remember when people were super, I've been saying it for a while. I know I was crazy about it, but back, you know, you remember back when people had Karlaftis as like the third best edge rusher in this draft. I was watching film on him and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I didn't see, like, he's not bad. I just don't see what I need to make him like a top pick. Like, my board goes Hutchinson, Kavion, Jermaine. Then I'd have to say probably Walker, like you mentioned. Then probably Ajabo, and then Karlaftis.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, I have Karlaftis as 3. I really, I love that Karlaftis is only in the early stages of becoming an edge rusher. This is what we're seeing is his natural ability. And what I like about him is guys like Trayvon Walker, they have one move, and if that move gets stunted, their whole the pressure is gone. And then they start trying to do, you know, they start trying to see if they can jump in and get their hands in the lane, which is all positive. But what Karlaftis does is he switches from move A to move B to move C. And I love that about players. It's the processing speed. And then like, so if there's a tight end out there, you'll see his tact change from situation to situation. It's not the same two moves over and over. And again, he's early. So I think he's got just the world in front of him. If he gets some really good coaching, like let's say Karlaftis ends up on the Ravens, or one of these teams that are known for defensive lines, or I think he's going to just excel. I would love to get Karlaftis. Now, would I take him over Thibodeau or Hutchinson? Probably not. I would take him over Jermaine Johnson and Trayvon Walker. I hope that the Jaguars bite on all this smoke about Trayvon Walker being the number one edge rusher that's all smoke put out there by GMs that want guys to slip. And the Jaguars are the perfect team to bite on it. And I think if they do, it's like, job well done, man, because that's what this is. There's no way. You look at the production. I've watched his tape. It's not to say he doesn't have talent. He's super athletic. That's all great. But his impact on the game, it's not there, man. It's for me, when I watched it, and I watched his tape against Evan Neal. They have somebody was nice enough to just take all the plays that they went together, head to head, and dude, Evan Neal owns Trayvon Walker. It's not even an issue. And like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. Trayvon Walker also has the benefit of all those guys around him, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Jordan David, it just goes on and on and on. How many people they have to focus on that defense. And so anyway, I just hope Trayvon Walker, that the Jaguars bite and take him first. I would laugh. Now, we don't know what anybody's career is. I've laughed before, Harrison, and been dead wrong. I've also cheered and been dead wrong, as we know. But I still think that hey, look, we can all have our opinions and everything. Our first two are the same. I like Jermaine Johnson much more than I like Trayvon Walker, but I happen to like guys like Boye Mafe. I like Cameron Thomas. Maybe not for the Jets, like Drake Jackson. I like a whole bunch. I like Nick Bonito. I like Ed Bicchetti. Like, if we were to get one of those guys after getting our main, edge rusher at 4, I'd be very happy, man. I would be psyched if they double dipped that edge. Maybe not that 4 and 10 though. I don't know. I don't know how, if it's positive or negative. I'm all freaked out.
I mean, people got Thibault slipping. I mean, I'm trying to imagine like Hutchinson at 4 and Thibault at 10. Like that.
Thibodeau? Yeah.
Thibodeau. Yeah, I always say his name wrong.
Dude, I get it. I have all kinds of players I do that. Don't you ever sweat it with me. I just wanted to make sure I knew who you were talking about. Yeah. I mean, look, people are saying Chris Sims just put out his he doesn't even have Thibodeau in the top 5. It's like,
I've been seeing him slide. Yeah, he definitely could be there at 10. And I didn't think Hutch could be there at 4, but man, I'm praying you're right. He can. Now, is it likely? Maybe not, but do we see it every single year? Just like a great example is last year, everybody was screaming that if you don't grab Creed Humphrey, with at the time we had picked 23. If you don't grab Creed at 23, he's never going to be there. Dude, he was there. He was there till the late second. Now, why? Maybe he's fucking fantastic. I think everybody knew he's fantastic, but it happens every single year. There's just teams are going to go in the direction that they need to go where they sit in the draft, and great players slip all the time. And I think Thibodeau can, especially because there's going to be a lot of, what's your flavor? People are going to like Jermaine Johnson more than him. People are going to like Aiden Hutchinson more than him. And it's going to happen. Now, is it going to be till 10? Dude, if we got Aiden Hutchinson at 4 and then Thibodeau's still there at 10, dude, you take him. Just take him. Bring him in and let's kill people. And let's make the meanest defense since the sack exchange. Quinnen Williams, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. Dude, come on. JFM, let's destroy. Let's just kill him. Right? I would do it. I would do that. If he's there at 10, you got to do it. Yeah, man. So I would love to bring something up you brought earlier, but I don't know if you remember, you were talking about, some guys finally, making it later in the NFL, like Conklin, for example, even though he really didn't get the opportunity to really start, but we've seen guys who have gotten the opportunity to start and struggled and then finally figured it out. Like you said, getting their legs later on. So I would love to hear what you think Do you think Denzel Mims will
Yeah.
get those legs?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big Denzel Mims supporter. Like, this is how I look at it, right? And I don't discount what anybody saw last year. Okay. I watched the same games. I saw the same shit that everybody else saw, right? But when you look at Denzel Mims, you look at he had 4 years in college. His freshman year, he had like a handful of catches. He didn't do much. And then the other 3 years, he was fantastic. He had a reputation for being a good teammate, a hardworking teammate, no work ethic concerns, no intelligence concerns. Now, granted, the offense he played in was more simple. So, maybe his intelligence didn't have to be pressed or anything, but none of these things that people are saying are problems of his. He's lazy. He doesn't care. That's never been what he's been known for. Okay. And I've watched every single snap of Denzel Mims's career. All right. Every single snap. Now, when you look at his rookie year, he had the injury for the first, I think it was 7 weeks or so of the season, came in and looked fantastic. Okay. Looked fantastic. If you go back and watch, even Jet Nation has a compilation on the Jet Nation YouTube page of every catch of Denzel Mims' rookie year. You can watch it. The catches are beautiful. The yards after the catch are beautiful. What happened later in his rookie year was Sam Darnold stopped being able to find him. When Flacco came in, his numbers went through the roof. And then Sam Darnold came in and he couldn't find him anymore and everything. Now, when you look at last year, whatever it is, whatever the reasons were, if it was the food poisoning, if it was the COVID, if it was the combination of the two, if he just got behind and never was able to claw back up and he got a little bit, feeling sorry for himself, whatever it is, that's the anomaly. No matter how you slice it, when you look at everything he's done, the 4 years in college, the rookie year, the Senior Bowl, all the stuff that Denzel Mims has put down, everything leads you to believe one thing. Last year was the exact opposite. So what is it? Now, I don't pretend to know what it is, but I will tell you it's the outlier. He has significantly more data supporting that he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver, 6'3", 4.38 speed, 9.75 RAS score. I mean, he's got every single thing that you want in a receiver, except something happened last year. So I think, hey, start him at wide receiver 5. Let him start on equal footing. But hey, you're 5. You got to work your way up. Let him work his way back up. Give him the same opportunities as anybody else, and you're going to see it. And I think Denzel Mims is going to, look, if he gets 35, 40 catches this year, fantastic. Let's just let him keep coming up. And dude, you don't throw 24-year-old, 6'3", 4.38, 9.75 athletic scores out the fucking door. You just don't do it. You don't do that. You give those guys a second. So I happen to believe that if they just develop him like their job is to do, you're supposed to be able to take talent and get something out of it. If you can't develop him, then trade him. Either way, you got to get something out of Denzel Mims. And I think that he's the perfect candidate to have hopes for. And I feel really good. I think I'm very bullish on Denzel Mims, man. I believe.
I'm glad you bring that up, man. I kind of felt the same way. I mean, that rookie year, he was really good. In his rookie year, he was making unbelievable contested catches. His awareness catches. His awareness was out of control. He was great in the end zone. He knew exactly where his feet were, his hands were. He looked great. He looked poised to potentially even be a wide receiver 1. Me and many others were making the argument that in his rookie year, he could be a wide receiver 1 the next season. But yeah, something happened. I mean, there were all those reports early in the year that we didn't know he was sick at the time, but apparently he was sick and he wasn't at camp and he had issues and he wasn't in shape. And guys like Keelan Cole were getting opportunities over him. And I've always been a big Keelan Cole fan. I felt like he was a guy that was slept on too. So I was like, hey, if he's going to get an opportunity, that's great. But Denzel Mims kind of fell by the waist burner. And every time he played last year, it was weird. It was like either he caused a penalty or he wasn't in the right place. He didn't even look like an NFL player. He looked like you said, something was wrong. Something was definitely wrong. And maybe he's got it figured out now because we're seeing these videos in the offseason and he's running well. He looks like he's in much better shape. He's playing with Zach. He looks like he's running crisp routes. I mean, that could be the outlier year. We've seen so many guys have a sophomore slump. All he's got to do, like you said, is continue what he did in college, continue what he did in that rookie year. And you say, just throwing him out. If you throw him out, someone else is going to take a chance on him. Like you said, he's a young guy with all this talent. Someone's going to assume that, like you said, either we didn't develop him properly or we just didn't, utilize his potential. So, yeah, someone will definitely take a chance on the kid. I think we got to, like you said, at least give him this year. At least give him this year to show he can be something and then reevaluate at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, look, when we look at a situation like with our beat, right? Like we heard that the Jets are concerned Mekhi Becton's eating himself to death. That was literally an article. That was their words. The Jets are concerned Mekhi Becton is eating himself to death. Then we hear the Jets are concerned that Denzel Mims is lazy and doesn't care. Again, neither of these things are true. Now you can look at Mekhi Becton's trainer, Duke Manyweather, as soon as those articles came out that he was 40 pounds overweight, we're reading in the New York Post or by ESPN, 40 pounds overweight. The next 3 days, Duke Manyweather puts out these videos of Mekhi Becton working out yesterday. He looks ripped. He looks strong. He's working his ass off. Like
he looks leaner than he's ever looked.
Dude, none of this stuff is true. But it's like, look, if you hear something, and they say, hey, the guy's overweight, and you go, oh, wow, that's a concern. That's not good news. And then you hear something or see something that nullifies that, you should forget the original point. For some reason, we're all going back to that stuff. Like we still talk about him eating himself to death. Dude, they've already taken that and pushed that aside. It wasn't true. None of it was true. Now, I don't know if this coaching staff likes Denzel Mims. I don't know if they like Mekhi Becton. We don't know. We don't know what their personal preferences are. But as far as these guys being talented, being good draft picks who have the opportunity to turn it around, I mean, dude, we're talking about 1 year for each of them. Don't forget, Mekhi Becton, his rookie year, was playing for injury. I mean, Adam Gase had him out there. He had that shoulder injury. If he would have just stayed out the game, it wouldn't even have been a thing. Mekhi Becton, do you guys remember? He was literally standing on the side, yelling at the sideline, run behind me. He was destroying people out there. He nullified Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, and anybody they put in front of him. Like, why do we forget that? Like, we want this guy on the field. We want our 6'3" wide receiver on the field. Now, if they give him a shot this year, and like Denzel Mims, he just looks lost again. Okay, then something happened to him. It happens to players all the time, but you gave it that shot. Letting last year dictate, first year in a brand new system. Again, don't forget, that's his third system in 3 years. They had the whole COVID shutdown. There's lots of variables into this. Let's just give our young players a shot. How about we try this, Jets fans? How about we try supporting these guys, make them want to make it here, as opposed to, I can't wait to get out of here. These fans are the worst.
Amen, man. Amen. And that's a great point you brought up with Mekhi Becton, because that's something I was screaming. You remember in his rookie year with Adam Gase, I even wrote a whole article on it. It was pissing me off how they just kept letting him go back out. The guy is in his rookie year. He was our 10th overall pick, our heralded next guy to protect our quarterback. And you're just throwing him out there to the wolves before he's healthy. Because Gase didn't give a shit. He just wanted to win. He didn't really care about the player. He didn't care about his health. So yeah, they asked Mekhi, are you ready to go back out? He's like, yeah, of course the player's going to want to go back out. You remember back in the 80s, there'd be dudes with like their head hanging off on a string and they'll be like, send me back out there. Like, of course they want to go back out. They're always going to go back out. You as the adult, the doctor, needs to say, no, you're done. But it was a shoulder injury. I actually did a little research on it and I wrote about it, that specific injury, it didn't matter what he did, just the position he played, the way he was engaging with other people, it was always going to injure him. It was always going to make it worse. And it even had the potential to tear. So they keep putting him out, he gets hurt again. Keeps putting him out, gets hurt again. Finally, he gets this bad knee injury. I've been saying it forever, and the coaching staff's been saying the same thing. The dude is a big dude. That is the one negative. The one big negative is it takes longer to heal. It takes longer for somebody of his size to feel comfortable and able to put the weight back on the knee. It's not that the surgery went bad. It's not that there were any setbacks. He just has a much longer timetable. That's the big negative with a big guy. But like you mentioned, the amazing positive is to get behind me. I'm going to knock people down. I'm going to make those holes. So yeah, I have to say he is not injury prone. Mekhi Becton, that rookie year, constantly being thrown out to re-aggravate that shoulder. This injury, he just had to heal from it. It just took him substantially longer than we would have hoped, but there were no setbacks. Nothing went wrong. Man, Mekhi Becton, if he comes back to that rookie form, man, he looked like a potential Pro Bowler as a rookie. And like we said, you saw in those videos, he looks stronger than before. He looks leaner than before. Man, after the season George Fant had last year, I can't wait for this tackle position. Like, I can't wait for that competition between the two of them. I don't even care who winds up at left tackle and right tackle. I just want to watch the two of them play.
Yeah. Well, right, man. And that's the thing too. It's like I think, look, we've talked about like the front end of the draft, but just for a second, going to the back end, this is the perfect year to like fourth and fifth round. We have 2 picks in each round to bring in like a fourth round tackle, a fourth round guard, a fifth round tackle, whatever it is, and start getting these guys to develop on our pipeline behind the Bectons of the Fants of the world. Now, whether or not we re-sign Fant, like we don't know what's going to happen with that. We do know he's under contract this year, but getting a fifth round tackle right now and letting them learn the system the whole year, dude, don't forget a lot of these guys that were fans are wanting to throw $20 million out, at whether they're tight ends, linemen, defensive, a lot of those are fucking fourth round, fifth round picks. And like, look at Dalton Schultz. He's a fourth round pick too. We wanted to give him $20 million. We're like, yeah, just pay him whatever he wants. How about we use the fourth round and you start bringing guys on, just like we talked about with Tyler Conklin. You bring a guy in, he has no pressure to start. He plays special teams like so many other great NFL players. Let them play specials their first year. We'll develop them. When it's time for them to come in, they already have a year or 2 years in the system. They know it inside and out. They come in, they're ready to pop. They've been in our program. Our coaches know their strengths and weaknesses, and they come right in. And they can take the starting job with no drop off. We don't have to wait for a rookie to get his head out of his ass, or some guy, a free agent, to come over. We waste half the season while he gets his ducks in a row. This is the design. And I think this is the first year we're going to be able to see it with the offensive side of the ball. We're going to start to see a mid to late round offensive lineman. We're going to start to see mid to late round wide receivers and stuff like that. You want to start bringing these guys in so they're on your team already. And I think, man, Becton's going to be here a long ass time. And I just wish, I wish that fans would support our guys longer than 10 minutes. Like we support them. The first sign of adversity, our default setting is cut them, trade them, get them out of here. Like, that's what we do here. Now, we're damaged goods as a fan base. Like, look, I'm here. I'm one of us. I know how that thinking goes. Fuck, man, I've been here for 40 years hanging out. So I get it. At the same time, I'd love to see us, like, when the going gets tough, support our guys. Support them. We love the picks. When they took Becton, when they took Mims, I thought that was the best damn draft I'd seen in 20 years. I couldn't believe they got 2 players that I actually wanted at the positions I actually wanted. Like, I couldn't believe it. Then oh my God.
Later on.
Dude, Harrison, I was screaming in the 3rd round and the 4th round. We had 2 picks in the 3rd, 3 in the 4th. I couldn't believe that we didn't use one of them on Bryce Hall when we used one on James Morgan. And I loved Cam Clark, didn't like Ashton Davis, didn't like James Morgan. And I'm like, I can't believe this guy Bryce Hall is sliding all the way through. And then we get him in the 5th. I was like, holy shit, maybe I don't know everything. That's what I started thinking. Maybe these guys know what they're doing. But yeah, man, even like Braden Mann, like, we want to cut the guy. The guy had his plant leg ripped off last year. He had to miss however many weeks. He comes back in and everybody's like, he sucks. It's like, he doesn't suck. He had the same hype about him coming out as this guy Matt Araiza has around him. Everybody wants to fucking cut Braden Mann and Bryce Hall. We want to bring in Sauce and push these guys. Let's just build, support our players, and actually become one. Let's become a unified front where we're all supporting each other and pushing us over the mountaintop instead of looking for the first opportunity to cut everybody's friggin' heads off.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And yeah, I remember you said you awesome, good stuff, man. So yeah, I wanted to definitely bring up some of the comments. All you guys, appreciate you guys here, appreciate all the comments. We got GreenBean, Matthias, shout out to you, the hardest working bean on the farm. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Braden saying, oh man, we got the 2 biggest wordsmiths. It's always fun going on with GreenBean, man. Always fun talking about the Jets and
right. We're talkers, you and I.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. I love it. I feel like we get into like so much fun conversation. It's awesome.
right.
Mike can't wait. Mike's chomping at the bit. I can't wait, man. Like this draft is coming up. Whew, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's inching closer little by little.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's like, at this point, what are we? It's August 11th, so we have 17 days. 17 days. Now, our job right now is to figure out how to fill every one of those days so we don't actually allow ourselves to get like stir crazy. We got to just keep talking, keep studying, that's my thought. I got to keep my head absorbing shit, or else I'm going to be miserable that it's not draft night.
Yeah, we got a hater there. Appreciate you, hater. Hater's saying how you love tight ends. I was speaking your language, man. We talked about it before. Like I can't say it enough. Like the more I started looking into it, I'm like, I think it's just Uzomah's like infectious personality. Like he's just got such a great smile and energy that like Conklin's just been totally overlooked as like this guy's gonna come in and be like a legit tight end one. Like in his first year, he put up almost 700 yards. Like, man, this kid could really like break out next year with Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's the thing. Like Zach Wilson, think about this. Not only was he chased all over the place, and we talked about how like all his pressure and everything, but on top of that, he had the most dropped passes like in the NFL as far as catchable passes dropped, right? So he had the most catchable passes dropped in the entire NFL last year. There were numerous times where the pass landed in the receiver's hands, bounced out. Two of them were Corey Davis, one was Berrios, and they were interceptions. So 3 of Zach Wilson's interceptions were good passes that his receivers betrayed him. And then you had like the check down thing that these tight ends are going to be able to offer him, that release valve, that safety valve. He would throw it to a running back and they would drop it. I mean, we know we have the famous Ty Johnson 3 in a row, 3 third downs in a row. Like he throws it to his running back for a first down and he drops it. Like that's what Uzomah and Conklin are going to come in and completely eradicate for us. That's what we're looking for them to do. And it's so needed, man. Zach's going to be much, much better off with tight ends like those guys.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So Matthias points out, and like you said, I would love if they went edge rusher at 4 and 10, especially because I could see JJ being on the board still at 10. But if another big one, people like wide receiver at 10, so many people were on Garrett Wilson for a while. And I feel like I'm the only crazy person saying this, but I'm not that high on him. I watch Garrett Wilson and I'm like, he's not the greatest route runner. He's better in the short game and the intermediate. He breaks open when he has open field and he's good after the catch. He's really just like a larger Elijah Moore. Like, that's how I look at him. Like, I really felt like he wasn't the guy I wanted. Like, there were so many other guys I wanted. My big guy, I don't know about you, has always been the opposite guy next to him. I think Chris Olave is massively slept on. I've been saying for a while, I think he is arguably the best wide receiver in this draft, better than Wilson. And I just don't get why people don't see it. So I'd love for you, if you were to take a wide receiver at 10, who would that be?
Yeah, well, let me say this. Number one, I agree with you about Chris Olave. He's slept on, and I think it's interesting. We have heard the Jets tied to all the other wide receivers that are considered the top of the tier. Like we've heard them tied to Garrett Wilson. We've heard that they're in love with Drake London. We heard that they love Treylon Burks. And then we heard that if, they might consider Jamison Williams. So we heard all this stuff. The one guy that we've heard nothing about is Chris Olave. That leads me to believing it's by design. Chris Olave is probably their target. Now, I happen to like Garrett Wilson. I do. But I'm totally with you that Chris Olave has everything. Don't forget, man, Chris Olave, if he came out last year, he was a first-round pick. This guy has numerous years of being, wide receiver 1 over there. And, he's just, look, he stayed in college and it's a little bit of a dip. If he had the same year he had the year before, he would be consensus number 1. But it's one of those things, man. Chris Olave.
That's because of that kid. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That new kid that's just like unbelievable. That's going to be like the next greatest wide receiver of all time.
Well, too, right. Yeah.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I think he's got 2 names, I believe.
Yeah. Well, they're right. But also, too, it's like, look, they changed quarterbacks and all the, all the stuff. Like, he had a great relationship and rapport with Justin Fields and all that. So it's just like, I think, honestly, I think Joe Douglas is better at this than we think. And I think a lot of the guys that we're tied to, at least since Joe Douglas has been here, a lot of the guys that they had us negotiating with, Juju Smith-Schuster, Trey Hendrickson, all the guys that they said we were going to bring in, none of them have come in. The guys that he does bring in, way outside the box. There was nobody had us locked to Tyler Conklin. Nobody had us there. They had us Marcus Williams. They had, all kinds of different guys. But Joe Douglas is a little bit better at this than we're used to seeing here. And I did notice that they brought Chris Olave in for a visit, and that's good. I was hoping that they did because I think that might be the best guy for us. And I think that he brings a skill set here that we don't have. And I would love to see, especially, man, if Denzel Mims comes out and is able to just be who we thought he was going to be. You don't have to be wide receiver one, just be a steady wide receiver in this league. Could you imagine having Denzel Mims, Chris Olave, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, the two tight ends, whoever the running back is that we bring in to pair with Michael Carter? Like, now we're talking. And I think Zach Wilson is going to benefit from whoever it is we bring in. But I'm with you. I think Chris Olave is the secret golden nugget, Harrison. That's who he is.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, I watch this kid. Everyone's like, oh, he's just a deep threat. It's like, no, he's not. He's an amazing deep threat because not only does he have elite speed with 4.26 40 speed, he's an amazing route runner. Like, this dude is a legit ankle breaker. Like, he gets open so deep, not really just because of his speed, because he ran like 3 different fake routes in the corner, doesn't know where he is anymore. And he lost them on the field. Like, this dude is like a better route runner than like a lot of the guys in the NFL already. He's got unbelievable hands, great speed. I think he can do everything. People say he's not tough. I think that's wrong. Man, I look at a guy like Wilson. He's not bad. He's a sloppy route runner compared to Olave, who's like one of the best route runners I've ever seen. Like, man, I feel like you said, Olave is a plug and play, ready to go day one, wide receiver one. Like, this dude just does everything. Like, checks every box.
Right. And that's how I feel. And again, I'm going to maintain this, man. I think the fact that we haven't heard shit about the Jets and Olave, that means that Olave is our guy. That's what I think.
I hope so, man. I hope so. But I know Green Bean's got to get going. I want to thank you again for being on the show, man. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Taking the time to talk about them Jets. We gotta do it again.
Yeah, I agree, dude. It's good to have the time with you. It's been a little while. So I was happy that we were able to connect, and I appreciate you having me on, man. And the chat, always, you guys are just the best, man. I love chatting with you guys too. I love everybody in that chat, except for Jeremy, of course. He's just too bald for me. Too bald, too old. So other than that, you guys are fantastic. But Harrison, thank you, man. It's been a good time.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Yeah. And thank you guys also again, in the chat. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate, try to bring out as many as we can. You guys, every week. As you guys know, my show is with you guys Mondays, 7 p.m. right here. Please tune in like you haven't if you can. If you haven't yet, if you could please subscribe to the channel. You could do so again by clicking on the logo. Again, thank you for being here. Shows every Monday at 7 p.m. Thank you for being in the comments. Thank you for chatting. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And Greenbean, if you want to say goodbye, but we appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, right on, man. We're doing the Monday Night Mock tonight. I haven't looked at the poll, but we got some good trade back options out there. I hope you guys all come. 10 o'clock, my channel, Green Bean Jets fan. It'll be a fun time.
Appreciate it, man. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Again, guys, check out the show Monday night, 7 p.m. every week. Thank you for being part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Hope you have a great, great rest of your week. Our time's coming, baby. Let's go, Jets.
Go Jets.